So viewers, after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Argentina, the Prime Minister arrives in Brazil, where the Prime Minister will be participating in the 17th BRICS Summit. The Prime Minister received a rousing welcome as he arrived there from the Indian community. And as he arrived in Rio de Janeiro for the BRICS Summit, members of the community greeted him with cultural performances, including a special dance themed on Operation Sindoor, India's anti-terror mission targeting Pakistan-based terrorists. During the two-day summit, leaders of the BRICS countries, that is Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, will meet in Rio de Janeiro, and the Russian President Vladimir Putin and China's President Xi Jinping will be absent, with their countries being represented by the foreign ministers instead. The spotlight will be firmly on Prime Minister Modi and the Brazilian President. There are a multitude of issues that will be discussed in the BRICS Summit, with partnership and cooperation among the global South nations high on the agenda. So let's take a look at what is going to be in focus. Top on the agenda is, of course, going to be the cooperation among the global South nations, the nations that are part of the BRICS. Apart from that, reforms in the global governance, and this is very significant for India, there is going to be focus on counter-terrorism, with India expected to give a strong message on cross-border terror. And that is expected to take place in the meetings. Apart from that, strengthening multilaterals as well as the ethical use of artificial intelligence, climate action and global health. This is going to be top on the agenda. Of course, economic cooperation using national currencies is also going to be important, because BRICS has now clarified that there will not be any other alternate currency, but instead the economic cooperation will be using national currencies. But first up, let's take a look at the welcome that the Prime Minister received as he arrived in Rio de Janeiro. And ahead of the crucial summit, Times Now spoke to Brazil's ambassador to India to get a sense of what issues will dominate the talks. Listen in.
Ambassador, welcome to Times Now. This is a big moment for Brazil. You have BRICS, and then you have COP30 shortly afterwards. Now tell us about BRICS. What are the main issues that you're looking at the BRICS summit?
Thank you for this very encompassing question. Brazil will prioritize 6 areas under its presidency. The first is reform of multilateral peace and security institutions. The second is climate change, focusing on climate change financing. Third is cooperation in global health. Fourth is institutionalization, I would say, of BRICS. 5 is artificial intelligence governance. And 6 is trade and finance.
That's quite a lot on your agenda. First of all, let's just look at the changes in the UN Security Council, for instance. A country like Brazil should be a permanent member of the UN Security Council. Certainly India. Now, is this something that is going to be discussed at length at your BRICS summit? And what would you expect the result to be on that?
Well, I think that I should begin by saying that BRICS as a group is one of the few loci these days where countries can discuss the big challenges of humanity based on the perception that global challenges need joint solutions, with the inclusion of all countries in the discussions. And also, these decisions have to be made based on consensus. So this being said, I would say that yes, reform of the Security Council will be part of the discussions to be held in our BRICS summit among our top leaders, certainly.
And 3 points you made are very relevant today. First, that relates to trade and the economy, because the economy has been hit because of a number of reasons, war, COVID before that, and so on. Secondly, climate change, which is a huge problem, and Brazil is one of those countries that has to take the lead. And third, very important, is artificial intelligence. That is where the future of humanity may be. Tell us, how are these 3 issues going to be looked at by the BRICS leaders?
When it comes to global climate change, Brazil will take forward its initiative it started under its presidency of G20, which is a task force against climate change. It's a two-pronged initiative. One, providing expertise for countries to devise their own national plans against climate change, and the second, climate change financing. We need to find new financial instruments to tackle climate change challenge in a diversity of countries. Developed countries, emerging countries, developed countries, all these countries need different ways to promote climate financing.
Now, after attending the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro, the Prime Minister will be headed to the capital city of Brasilia for the state visit, and this will be the first state visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Brazil after 57 years. The Prime Minister will meet with the Brazilian President on the 8th of July to deepen the strategic partnership. The two nations are likely to discuss defense, agriculture, climate change and various other issues. And counter-terrorism is also likely to dominate the agenda.
India, during its presidency of BRICS in 2021, had already got a declaration issued on behalf of BRICS on counterterrorism. And besides that, we are expecting that an MOU on counterterrorism will be signed between India and Brazil bilaterally during the state visit of Prime Minister. Well, the discussion will take place. The agenda is very clear, and you will get to know on 6th afternoon when the joint declaration comes out, which will be a very constructive one, as usual, with BRICS countries are collaborating with each other for almost 2 decades now.
Now, all eyes will be on the defense cooperation between the two nations. In a big boost to Make in India, Brazil has expressed keen interest to acquire some of India's own-made defense equipment, including the Akash air defense system, which proved its mettle during the recent conflict with Pakistan. So let's tell you what it could mean for Make in India and the defense push that India could get. Akash air defense system is going to be in focus in this meeting with the Prime Minister, with Brazil looking to acquire it. Remember, it has proved itself during Operation Sindoor. Apart from that, the coastal surveillance system, as well as the Garuda artillery guns and secure communication systems on the battlefield and offshore patrol vessels, as well as partnership to maintain Scorpion-class submarines, are all going to be in focus. Consulting editor Srinjoy Chaudhary is with us on the broadcast. Srinjoy, BRICS is of course seen as a way to reshape the global balance of power, but apart from the BRICS summit, the Prime Minister will also be holding a bilateral. What's expected? What's going to be on the agenda?
Well, there are 2 things, as you rightly said. First, BRICS for 2 days. That will be in Rio. After which, Prime Minister goes off to Brasilia, the capital, where there will be India-Brazil bilateral talks. And defense, as you said, will be one of those areas of discussion. Climate certainly, the economy certainly, but defense. The Brazilians have sought something very unique, because there are things that India needs, like Embraer planes. Now, India's VVIPs travel in Brazilian Embraer planes. Now, Brazil has said that we want your Akash, we want your OPVs, we want your communication systems, we want your RT. Okay, you want our Embraer planes. Let's do a swap of equal value. For instance, if we buy, let's say, Brazilian planes worth $1 billion, the Brazilians can have artillery and guns and everything else of equal value. That's a Brazilian idea. But whether that works or not, we don't know. Because one problem is that what India wants to buy or India can buy is from a private sector firm. On the other hand, much of these guns and things will come from the public sector, the defense public sector enterprises. Now, can this get sorted out? We don't know. But whatever it is, there will be significant discussion on defense and on defense equipment. About that, there is no doubt. Besides that, climate change is so important. The Brazilians are putting enormous pressure on the world because they say that the world's carbon sink is the Amazon. If you have climate change that is so critical and so dangerous for the world, then the Amazon is the one way of saving things. And the Amazon also has to be saved. So all these issues will come up when Brazil and India talk as well.
Okay, all right. Another stop and then the Prime Minister will be returning to the country. But let's talk about what the visit has been like. The Prime Minister's global standing has soared to new heights. He's the most